Fish and chips and vinegar, vinegar, vinegar. Fish and chips and vinegar, pepper, 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 salt.
Welcome back. When you go out to get something to eat, say for example Nando's, and you buy a chicken burger, you can be pretty much guaranteed you're going to get chicken. But in the instance of fish and chip stores, it may not always be the case that you get the type of fish that you think you're buying. You may very well have a cheaper type of fish, a similar one but cheaper, be substituted in. Are we being ripped off? We wanted to find out a little bit more. Jacqueline Alice investigates.
There have been reports in the past that have proven that some fish and chip shops have been misleading customers within Western Australia. Consumer Protection says some fish and chip shops advertise mislabelled fish. This may mean when you go to your favourite fish and chip shop, your fish may not be what you ordered.
Generally what happens is that we'll get a report from a member of the public that they have bought a product, so it's whether it's a restaurant meal or it's fish that they've bought from the markets or from a roadside stall, and they don't believe that it's the genuine article. So they'll contact us and we'll take on the details. We then head out and do our own investigations. So effectively what we do is we go out and we pose as a customer, we buy the product, and we've then got a formal process we have to follow where we will take the product for testing. So our scientists at the chemistry centre will go through the process of identifying the species of fish, and then if that's found to be incorrect, that gives us the evidence to start the process of looking at whether or not there has been an offence under the Australian consumer law.
Companies like ChemCentre identify the species of fish from the fillets to ensure customers are getting exactly what they pay for.
It's very important for us to test seafood because there are many reasons. Number one, we need to protect the consumer who, when they pay for a certain fish, should get that fish and not something cheaper. There could be health implications as well. There are certain people in the community, for example infants and the elderly, who may not be able to eat some fish. Some may be allergic to fish flesh, and others maybe has concerns with heavy metals in fish, for example pregnant women.
What is the procedure for testing fish?
Procedure is very simple really. You take a tiny amount of that fish. From that amount you put into a small test tube, and into the test tube add some strong chemicals, and that chemical will reduce that fish into a soup-like jelly. And we use very clever science to extract DNA from the jelly, leaving all the other bits of the fish out. We now take the DNA, which is now in very small droplets in the tube, and we analyze that DNA for a DNA fingerprint that we get later.
For those of us who are not scientists, there are some things we can do. Whole fish is the best way to know you are getting exactly what you pay for. But for fish fans, it is not a perfect solution. So we visit Sweet Lips in Leederville, classified Best Fish and Chip Shop in the West Australian Food Guide 2011. How do you ensure customers are getting exactly what they pay for?
The main way we ensure that is by having it on display as a fresh fillet, so that the customers can see that we do have, whether it's blue spot emperor or pink snapper, they can see that we do have that available, and they can see us sort of actually cooking from that display, so they can see it fresh on display and also seeing it going straight into the fryer.
What is the most common fish that is replaced?
I'd say things like the generic term of snapper, which technically is really only pink snapper, should be called snapper. But over the years, a lot of imported products have been brought in with snapper on the box. If you read more closely, they're not actually a snapper variety. So, and things like red emperor and barramundi, perhaps. One of the fish that was used to be called a baby snapper. It's actually when they went through a few years ago and sort of got the technical names for all the different fish, it's actually called blue spot emperor. So so that created a bit of confusion, but we sort of persisted with educating our customers. Now they come in and order blue spot emperor, and they know what they're getting.
And if you're still unsure, you can always ask the fish and chip shop to see the packaging. I'm Jacqueline Alice for UnderCurrent.